allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the symbol for perfect friendship among united cultures.
I'll go ahead and give the invocation. Our Father in heaven, we come before thee this morning and give thee thanks for the Christmas season, for the good spirit throughout the community. We're grateful for the kindness. We're grateful for the added focus on thy Son, Jesus Christ. We ask that as we go through our business today, that we may do so efficiently and that we may do according to thy will. We pray for those that are struggling and sick with COVID and other ailments, those who've lost loved ones during this time of year, that thou might be with them. We are grateful, Father, above all, for thy Son, Jesus Christ. Say these things in his name. Amen.
Good morning, Commissioners. As I mentioned earlier, we'll excuse Commissioner Cordova this morning with some personal matters. I don't have any written public comments. Are there any public comments from the audience? Please state your name, Mr. Fletcher. And
hi, I'm Danny Fletcher, and wanted to come introduce myself. I'm working with Holtec on their project in southeastern New Mexico, and just again wanted to come introduce myself, let you know that they did hire me to do that. I've been around southeastern New Mexico, the city councils and county commissioners, and land meetings and everything else, and trying to help them. They want to also let you all know that the upcoming session in January, they're anticipating that there'll be a senator bring up a bill similar to the one that was just passed and signed by the governor of Texas, which eliminates or severely restricts any kind of transportation of nuclear or radioactive type material through the state of Texas, which is kind of ironic since they have two nuclear plants in Texas. But from what we understand, they're going to try to get it on the agenda. And if it does, we don't know what complications. It could shut down Holtec, could affect WIP, could affect Uranco, could affect that new nuclear medicine company coming to Eunice here this next year. We just don't know. So if it does happen and they do get it on the agenda, we would like to ask any public officials, elected officials, dignitaries, VIPs, to come support it in whatever committee they place the bill in. Other than that, thank you all, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you.
thanks, Danny. Are there other public comments from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kim Perry. I just wanted to introduce myself to y'all. I am the Southeast Field Director for Congresswoman Yvette Harrell. I come over here once a month and hold global office hours in the City Hall, but I'm going to start attending these meetings as well, and I just wanted to introduce myself to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You all right, Commissioner?
Yes, I think I'll survive.
Yes.
I'm holding my breath over here. Everybody got a mask?
I was thinking a drink of water or a
Shot of whiskey?
There you
He's
go.
not allowed to
That's
have
what I need.
smoke in there. Something to happen with the pickle. All right. If there are no other public comments.
Let me go ahead and add a little to it.
Holy folly.
It'll be good the whole time. All right.
This one's over here,
You're the one with the practice.
Some can't have nice things. All right. On the trailing agenda, we'll move into item 1 is approve the commission meeting minutes from December 7, 2021.
Any discussion, comments, or questions?
Not for me. Make a motion to approve.
Having a motion and a second, please call for the vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
McCutcheon,
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next item is expense approval report for November 2021.
Any questions, comments, discussion? Having none, entertain a motion that we approve expense approval report November 2021.
Second. Oh,
Motion in 2 seconds. Please call for the vote.
Carlson,
yes.
Henry,
Yes.
McCutcheon.
Yes.
Baird.
Yes.
The last item there is the purchase card approval list for November 2021.
Okay. Any discussions, comments, questions for P card approval 2021? Having none, entertain a motion that we approve P card approval list November 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. Please call for the vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
McCutcheon.
Yes.
Baird.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item is the American Rescue Plan Act funding approval. Ms. Roberta is out ill, and so I think maybe I'll go through it. What Roberta and Wes and I and Brian Stevens have done is put together an outline of where. So earlier this year, the county received the first tranche of American Rescue Plan funding, and we've put together an outline of how we'd like to administer those monies, some within the county and the rest within the community. In total, Eddy County was awarded $11,355,170, and we've received the first portion, as I mentioned, $5,677,585. And I think if you scroll down, there's the outline. That is our guidance recommendation at this point, how we would work to invest that first tranche of American Rescue Plan monies. We're looking at, and these categories are aligned with what U.S. Treasury guidance is on how to use those monies. You can see prevention in congregate settings, capital investment in public facilities, mental health services, small business economic assistance, aid to nonprofit organizations, provisions for government services, and then there's an administrative expense that's allowed, and then transfer to other government units. So we've outlined that first block there. We're working with the Carlsbad Department of Development to help us with the administration of the small business grant program and the nonprofit grant program that we're working on. So,
How would the small business assistance partners work?
what we're looking at doing is similar to what was done with the CARES Act monies. So they would petition through CDOD. CDOD would do a bunch of advertisement across the county. Last time with the CARES Act, we did just non-incorporated portions of Eddy County, and then the two cities administered theirs. In this instance, it'll be countywide, regardless of where the business might be. And these, to help us with the Treasury guidance and the requirements that are associated with procurement from the Treasury, these would be in increments of something less than $50,000, so that we could make an award, and the grant support requirements that are associated with that are much simpler. So they would provide documentation about the need, which should be relatively easy, and then CDOD would compile all that information, make sure we had all the documentation, and then we would have a list that we would look at. And in this instance, we've identified $500,000 to be dispersed. We would probably do that again when we receive the second tranche of money later next year.
Are we going to have application assistance? Because a lot of these small businesses, aren't as sophisticated maybe and don't quite understand the nuances of filling out that application.
CDOD did a really good job last year in that process to help. I think they went above and beyond to help businesses do that, to have the appropriate documentation and the requirements that will be published. Here's what you need. We've tried to streamline and simplify those so that those businesses have an opportunity.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the little guy
Absolutely.
has a chance
And
to
there are
start.
some provisions in there, so we make sure that we're not double dipping somewhere, that a business, didn't already receive some funds, so that, again, we try and invest that money as broadly as we can.
Okay.
If I may.
Yes,
So on this one, Artesia city limits can apply,
yes, sir.
and we're gonna run that through CDOD again.
Yep, and they're gonna advertise countywide, both in the cities, the newspapers, radio, again, because it is Eddy County, and the two cities will have also received monies. Theirs will have come through the state, but what they choose to do with it, how they choose to administer it, I don't know that they're gonna have monies to do something like this, but that's not my place to comment.
And who's the group within the CDOD? Is there a selected committee looking at this, or?
So last time, they did have some, their administrative team takes the applications and helps work on the paperwork. John Waters will lead that up, Jeff will do the advertising, but they will have a committee review to make sure that the documentation fits. When we did the CARES money, there was the New Mexico Department of Finance had a little matrix on how to score and rank. We're trying to keep it simple so that, but there will be, here's the folks that qualify, they have the appropriate paperwork, here's the list. We may have to make a determination of, okay, here's where the money runs out. But again, we'll certainly keep the list as more monies become available. We can say, okay, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a say within that committee, I think it would benefit us to have a representative from Artesia on it, just to keep things
Sure.
looking kosher.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong,
No.
but I wanna make sure that,
Yeah, no, I don't, and when they did it before, they basically, I won't say hid, but on their spreadsheet, the name of the business wasn't visible, right? Because they were looking at the documentation and scoring and things like that.
Sure.
So, but we can certainly do that. That's not a problem.
just make it look a little easy, make it.
Yeah, we want it to be transparent, right?
Yeah.
We want,
Yeah.
and because these are, in the CARES monies, you could, because depending on the size of your business, you could be given a larger award. And that happened in some instances. In this instance, they're gonna pretty much, there's a max, but I anticipate that they'll all be very similar. A smaller business may, it would be surprising if a smaller business didn't have a need that was at least $45,000, so I think most awards are gonna be the same amount.
Thank you.
And I'd hate to see, as they do an initial evaluation of the application itself, if they're missing a small amount of information, rather than just reject that application, I would like to see that go back and have a chance for correction and us assist them in correcting their problems.
That's what CDOD did with the CARES Act. They'd get, if a business submitted partial information, they would make a call, they would chase it down and say, hey, do you have this, this, and this, or here's an example of what we're looking for, right? It wasn't a, pre-screen of, oh, you didn't have all the right material, you're in the other pile. No, they went back and tried to help and support. And they've had calls already, right? So there's awareness out there. And they've told people, hey, hang tight, there's something in the works that we're looking at, so.
Okay.
Yes.
So this money can be used for, it looks like multiple things. I mean, it looks like it can be used for facilities, for grants, for mental health, anything like that.
Yes, sir.
Can we take all of it and try to build a new hospital with it? We're gonna have 10 million. Could we partner with Carlsbad and Artesia and just build a new hospital and solve one of the community's main issues? You don't like that?
Regional hospital at Seven Rivers?
Yeah, I think that would be fine with me. I'm saying this partially in jest, just to get some blood going with Alice morning. But honestly, like, that would be a good idea. So you're welcome for that.
Hey,
take it for what
Is that a no, Al? Is that what you're?
Not at this time.
Not at this. Okay.
Not impatient.
I'm not gonna call that.
Okay, I mean, that would benefit all the citizens that we can.
To be fair, the U.S. Treasury and the U.S. government, their feedback that we've received through NACO and other organizations is they don't want the money back, but they do want to make sure that it's invested appropriately, right? I know there was some poor behavior with some of the CARES Act monies, right? A Lamborghini and some stuff.
Right.
So there are reporting requirements that every recipient is bound to do, and the county is. So we're trying to work within those guidelines and make sure that the disbursement, which falls under the Treasury procurement guidelines, and those are pretty rigorous for those of you that have been involved in federal contracts. So we're trying to work within those guidelines and not make the reporting so onerous that it's impractical to do. So, in theory, you could take that money, but you'd have to do it under a federal procurement contract to initiate that, and your $10 million may be soaked up in
Design.
or administration or many of the other federal procurement requirements that are associated.
Federal government wants you to spend responsibly.
Yeah.
As long as
Okay. Well,
They figured it out.
anyway, so this is the initial framework that we're working from. We'll receive the second tranche of those monies next May, I believe, and we'll work through this again. So we wanted you to be aware and have your concurrence that this met your expectations of how to appropriate the monies within Eddy County.
So I'd like a hospital, but.
And the commission approved the contract with CDOD last meeting.
Correct. For that administration line item. So
And there were provisions in there for them to assist the public in getting those applications filled out.
So if you would consider approval of that outline, we would appreciate it.
We have the American Rescue Plan Act funding approval. We'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Motion second, please call for the vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
McCutcheon,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
So no hospital.
Thank you, Commissioners. Don't fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
You might need $110 million.
We just built a little one, do a lot of good.
All right, item number 3. The Eddy County Board of Commissioners for 2022.
Already that time.
It is.
It's a sad day.
Should we have a
Taking your hammer from you.
moment of silence or a small tear?
Sit over here. I didn't even get to use it that much, you know?
You did a couple of times, very forcefully.
Okay.
I nominate Fred Beard for chairman.
I kind of like the status quo. I'll make a nomination that into a motion. Can I make that nomination? To just leave chairman and vice chair as is? Is that
Do whatever you want.
That's my nomination.
It's up to you all.
So,
Fine.
I don't know, I guess we have 2 nominations, and y'all can vote on them unless there are others.
Well, if they are willing to just stay the way it is, then I just remove my nomination.
That works good too.
Yeah. He gets to use his memory longer.
I could use, yeah.
Oh,
you know,
man.
sign everything.
I know, that's why, when whoever said shed a tear, I don't know which side is shedding a tear. I might start crying. I don't know.
All right,
I nominate, just leave it as is, and I'll go with it another year.
there's a motion and a second, and a withdrawal of the original
Can't, sure.
nomination. So, we have one motion withdrawn, one motion provided and a second. Would you please call for the vote?
Carlson.
Yes.
Henry.
Yes.
McCutcheon.
Yes.
Beard.
Yes.
There you go.
I'm not worried about holding the gallows, holding the pin is the problem. So.
Exactly. The die is cast for another 12 months.
Oh no, oh my goodness.
Thank you, commissioners. Item number 4, reclassification of a data analyst technician to appraiser. Ms. Gemma.
Good morning, all commissioners. Merry Christmas.
Morning.
We had a person in our new department who quit, and instead of refilling that position, I'd really like to change that classification to an appraiser. You know, PTD is always on us for appraisers. We never have enough, so I'd like to get your permission to do that, please.
Okay. Any discussion, questions on that? Okay, entertain a motion that we approve the reclassification of data analyst tech to appraiser.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Please call for the vote.
Carlson.
Yes.
Henry.
Yes.
McCutcheon.
Yes.
Beard.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ms.
Gemma.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. All right. For information, varsity sports t-shirt donation. Josh, you want to say anything?
Just that we handed them out, we sent some up to our student parade, we did the loving parade, and then we're trying to get some more out before the end of the year.
And varsity did the same thing last year for us,
they
right?
did.
This
They
is
sent, like random ones.
we're
Just
kind of a,
local companies that donate it, and we're working on a whole list of everybody that's put in, so that way we can get some permission after the first year and recognize them all at one time.
all right. And thanks, Josh. Okay. Mr. Hooper, request to develop an ordinance applicable to illegal dumping in Eddy County.
Morning, Chairman and Commissioners. A request was brought before the Community Services Director, or Community Services Department, to look at an illegal dumping ordinance. And so staff is just requesting direction from the board.
Hey, any discussions? Maybe Commissioner Carlson, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I thought that, I passed it on to Al. In the state statute, there's a section in there that I thought that fit really well, and it was $1,000 and 90 days in jail if you, up to 364 days in jail if you are caught illegal dumping, and if it has hazardous waste in it, then that pushes it up to a $5,000 fine. And I thought that was, I think that's what we want because it puts teeth in the fact that we can't have people going out here throwing trash out in other people's lawns and on their property and on the side of the road and stuff. So, which is happening at this point in my district, and I know my people are fed up with it, and so if they're fed up with it, I'm fed up with it.
So what Commissioner Carlson is referring to are state statutes
Yes.
for littering and dumping. In discussion with the county attorney, presently we were thinking, well, maybe we could have code enforcement. We could put an ordinance that would allow code enforcement to enforce state statute. That's not allowed. So we would have to have an ordinance that spoke specifically to that, and we could reference the state statutes and mimic them.
We could.
Well, that's what I want, but instead of saying up to $1,000, I want to say a minimum of $1,000.
And we can put that in there, but of course it's up to the judge on, we cite the person that.
We cite them under that ordinance.
And then the judge makes that decision on what the fines are gonna be.
So we'd have to see, I think the state statutes and penalties, we'd have to research that to make sure
Does
that's
say up to $1,000.
allowed, yeah. So we don't wanna have an ordinance that we're counter to what the state statutes provide for, but we would try and make it the maximum penalties to align with your expectations.
Yeah.
And so the process would be that we need to take that to the planning and development. We need to have an ordinance.
Well, I think that what we need to do is draft an ordinance before our next commission meeting and bring it back that's specific to just what I talked about, and present it to the board, and we'll vote on it.
So for an
We
ordinance.
don't need a bunch of committees looking at it. This is an ordinance that's good for the community, and we need to get it in place.
I understand what you're saying, Commissioner, but to pass an ordinance, you have to have public hearing. So we'd have to make sure that there were appropriate notifications.
You would propose it at that first meeting in January, then you wouldn't be able to do it. You have to have the 14 days before you can actually vote on it. So it has to be in the paper, 14 days pass, then you can have, and so we'd end up probably the 1st of February.
So we could
Pass
pass the drafted ordinance that you could
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
That's the ordinance you want.
And you say,
I just want it as soon as possible.
okay, we can do that.
And I want it as soon as possible. I don't want it to go through a bunch of committees. It's a very simple ordinance, and I can't imagine anybody being against it, and we need to get it in place.
And we're aligned with you. We just need to do it in a manner that it can't be challenged because we didn't follow.
Oh, I agree with that.
Right, so, does that work, Mr. Hooper?
Can I ask some questions to clarify this? Right now, because I know I've called you and you've sent Stephen out quite a few times. If there is currently, you find illegal dumping, what happens?
It's really tough, unless you catch them actually doing it. But we can.
Let's pretend you catch them. What currently happens right now?
If we catch somebody illegal dumping at this point, we lean more back on the sheriff's personnel than anything we have under ordinance.
So if
We will document it much like they would. We'll look for names within the items and so forth. Then we'll go back, we'll try to find those people, we'll try to say, hey, this has been dumped out here. Within the ordinance itself, there really isn't any teeth that we can fall back on that give us anything in court to stand on.
And that's what the ordinance would have to do. You have to be able to, in order to issue a citation, you have to know who to issue it to. And in the citation, if the ordinance is behind it, then you can basically prosecute it, so to speak.
But I guess my question, okay, let's go to liquid waste, because I have the same issue with liquid waste, right? And when we were having all these liquid waste problems, what was that, 2 years ago, when y'all were, who did we lean on? Who wrote the citations?
We did.
But who did we get to go out and check them? Because I remember y'all sitting here telling me it was environmental department we were
They were
leaning
the
on.
ones that had the authority to.
We would work in conjunction with the environment department. They would give us their documentation. They would support us in court because they don't have any citation authority. They have an administrative fine authority that will take them from now till the time we're all retired to get somebody in court. So they would give us their documentation supporting it. That being said, we would do it like Lee County does it with their ordinance. They give 10 days notification. They allow those people 10 days to get the documentation they need from the environment department saying, yes, they are legal. They don't get a second 10-day notice from Lee County Code Enforcement. They get a citation at that point, and they go to court, and then they can bring the documentation to the judge if they can acquire it. In most of the cases, when we do this, they can't acquire the documentation from the environment department. They don't have it. So most of where we're using it is in conjunction with the RV man camp ordinance, but there's been many instances where we're out on a piece of property, we're enforcing something under ordinance 18, and guess what? There's a cesspool. And so we notify them, give them the 10 days to get the documentation, or at the very least, get a contractor hired to resolve that issue. If they get a contractor hired on the liquid waste to resolve that issue within that 10-day period, we cut them some slack. We give them a grace period to continue to get that fixed. If they don't, then we're in court.
Well, and I guess, because the liquid waste, how y'all do it, I just wanna know if we were to pass this ordinance, because I don't want anyone to think I'm in disagreement. If you're dumping trash, I've got farmers that are calling me constantly because of trash. It's a problem. I don't wanna pass an ordinance are you the one that's probably gonna be enforcing this? Are we gonna lean on the sheriff's department? Y'all can write it, I understand that, but if we don't catch them doing it, what teeth do we really have? And if you catch them doing it, are we not calling the sheriff's department to come enforce it anyway? I'm just trying to get some clarification on how do we get this done to where these actually stick, number one. And number two, I hate ordinances. I think y'all know that. I hate them if there's no reason for them. If we've already got something in place that actually has, because if I'm dumping a trash bag and you catch me and then he shows up, I'm a little more nervous. Because if the sheriff's deputies are showing up, I'm like, oh, whoops.
Ask the sheriff, what are you gonna charge, littering?
Yes, well, here's the other, I think what they're looking at is
See, that's what I wanna know.
making an ordinance where they can take the burden off of my deputies so that they can focus on other issues where code enforcement can actually, because right now code enforcement can't cite, but they could cite under an ordinance. They can't cite, and am I correct, Cass?
Yes, you
They
are.
can't cite under the state statute. And, I mean, when it all comes right down to it is you have to have jurisdiction and you have to have probable cause to write a citation. And that's what we would do. And I can tell you right now, you know as well as I do, you gotta catch them red-handed, basically.
Exactly.
Because it's so hard to prove. We go out and investigate it. I get called all the time, and we'll have a piece of mail with Mark Cage's name right on it out there. But all I'm gonna say, I didn't throw that out there.
Exactly.
I don't know where those people got that from.
So what if you had like a trail camera picture, of a guy with a couch, and then he drives into Avalon, and then you have the same truck coming out with no couch in it? And
That would be some circumstantial evidence, yes. Now, if we saw him throw it out there, that's direct evidence.
One of the other things that I'd like to see, of course, it doesn't fall under this ordinance, but I was going to talk about it in the commissioner deal, is to start a program where the county would offer like a $250 reward for anybody with a videotape or are willing to do something in that case. So give us documentation.
Yeah, I guess back to that thing, that's a good comment as well. I just wanna make sure I'm clear. So if we do this, it does make more sense.
It takes the burden off of them having to come to us to have one of my deputies go over and investigate this and cite it. They can investigate and cite on their own.
If you did catch them, what right now, are we following state statute, or would it be
Yes.
just a litter, which is only 50?
That's a criminal offense. It's
Yeah, we follow state statutes.
Okay.
And
So I
we
do wanna
prosecute.
make sure it's the 1,000. I mean,
We have prosecuted,
But the state,
and we've been successful in a few places.
Okay.
state statute provisions for dumping,
But we would have the state statute now as a county ordinance. And we're not the only county in the state of New Mexico that has done this.
That's correct.
No, that makes sense. I just wanted to clarify exactly what
It just makes
it
sense.
does for us.
but the
because
challenges
we're gonna fall on it
of
anyway,
enforcement
that's
are
what we-
still what you are all discussing, is the proof and getting it upheld in court.
And if I'm,
Obviously, that's on any criminal, especially a misdemeanor. Isn't that right, Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
And it's-
Probable cause is the key thing.
At least,
Probable cause.
at least if we get it done, all we have to do is catch a few of them, and the word's gonna spread that we will not tolerate illegal dumping, and when you get caught, it's going to be a sizable fine, and you face the fact that you may go to jail.
I guess I just don't understand what's the point of a state statute. Who enforces them now? If it's a liquid waste, let's go, and environmental has no authority to enforce it. If a county has to have an ordinance so right now, the $1,000, if we're gonna do a $50 trash fine, what's the point of having a state statute that says anything?
This state statute that you guys looked at, I think, Davis sent you guys copies of it. That envisioned that the state was gonna authorize the counties and the sheriff and these to enforce. They never put together a program, and they never did issue that authority to anybody. So they got a state statute on the books that you can't enforce.
That's
The
unenforceable.
county can't enforce it.
That's what I need.
Because they didn't go that far yet. Now, they may. So what's happened in the other counties, they've adopted that lengthy ordinance that was proposed 3 years ago. They dealt with littering, dumping,
I want this specific to
And
what?
we can take out that part out of the ordinance we propose and put it together and have it for dumping, and we can have the $1,000 fine and the $5,000 if it's
Yep.
certain items, and at least at that point, code enforcement can enforce it, as well as the sheriff's office. And there may be times when Steve may need the sheriff's office out there to help him knowing who it is. I mean,
No,
but at least it's a start.
no,
Because right now, you throw stuff out and they say, hey, littering, $50 fine. They go pay a $50 fine, big whoopee, you know.
So, Mr. Hooper, are you clear on direction that's required here?
So, what I understand is that staff has direction to put together an ordinance that will come back before the commission for their review and also to schedule a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, can I make the motion?
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to say one thing. I just really, when we do this, I want to advertise the heck out of it.
Me too.
Make sure that everybody knows
Definitely.
that's what's going on. And I also want to take some other ordinances off the books. If we get the chance to do, ixnay some of those.
I'm kind of on
We'll-
board with
we'll offset
Commissioner
'em.
Henry. I hate new ordinances, but this is a big deal.
I think this is needed.
The farther
Yeah.
you get away from the city limits, out in my district in particular, the more trash and
Yes.
garbage and tires and, you know, it's,
Mine too.
yeah.
Yeah. So I make a motion that we request to develop an ordinance applicable to the illegal dumping in Eddy County and get it back to us, for review at the next county commission meeting.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Please call for the vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
McCutcheon?
Yes.
Beard?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Hooper, Mr. McCroskey.
Until we get that done, Mr. McCroskey, I guess you'll just have to carry a cane or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
I have people for that.
Oh, I don't think we needed to know that. I was just in jest here. This thing got serious
Scratch
pretty
that from
quickly.
the record. All right. Item number 7, Resolution 21-118, updating the Eddy County Commission districts following the 2020 decennial census. So, we've had the commissioners review the commission district boundaries with the Mexico Demographics Research LLC and align on the district boundaries and the precincts within the district boundaries, and that's what's presented here. We have the commission districts and then the associated precincts in those districts as directed by the commission. So we would like to have your approval on this resolution to set those commission districts out going forward.
I make a motion, we accept them.
And I'll second. Do we need the name, what we call this map, B++ or something?
Oh, this was the Mexico Demographics Research referred to this map as commission choice.
Okay.
Okay. Commission choice sounds good to me. Include that in my motion.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Please call for the vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
McCutcheon?
Yes.
Beard?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. We'll get the shape files from New Mexico Demographics, and we'll get those loaded up into our GIS system. The next item is Resolution 21-119, authorizing Eddy County to enter into settlement agreements with McKesson Environmental Health Inc., Amerisource, Bergen Corporation, Johnson & Johnson.
As stated in.
as stated in the agenda. Mr. Tabor.
Last December, we did contract with an attorney to assist the county, since we had earlier commissioned decided not to become involved in this at all. AG's office has an ongoing suit for the state of New Mexico, and they've been working, and we've been involved in some of the conversations, settlement conversations. So now they've agreed upon a settlement with these 3 of the 4, and then Johnson & Johnson, I think that's the one that's still dangling, not a settlement yet with them, but there's a 4th that they're attempting to settle with. AG has asked us all to settle it, and so has New Mexico County said, hey, the more counties that get involved in this, the more money the state of New Mexico and the counties get. Our attorneys were contacted. They said that they would represent us in making sure it goes one step further. Eddy County will resolve this thing provided we get an agreement with the state how much Eddy County is going to get. In other words, it's not going to be, some states are doing an 80-20 split where the local governments get 80%, state gets 20% of this money. New Mexico has proposed 60% for them, 40% for the counties, and then they went to 50-50, and that's where it is right now. And so what's going on is our attorneys are going to get involved and say, we've got these settlements that we've signed off on, but we're going to come to an agreement before January the 2nd of what that split's going to be. Then you can have our settlement documents, otherwise you're not getting them. And that's what this is. And it also authorizes Al to go ahead and sign these so we don't have to get back together and track Stephen down. He may be in who knows where when we need him. So it allows the county manager to sign off on any documents that need to be signed off, including these 3 that are going to be held in escrow until that agreement is reached with the state and with our attorneys as to a distribution of the money eventually when the state of New Mexico gets it. So right now they're pushing to get all the counties in the state, some of which weren't participating, and trying to get them to say, hey, we're going to sign on to this. And it is a heck of a chunk of money.
Discussion.
So we need the resolution passed that authorizes the contingent resolution of this matter, authorizing and directing that Al be the one to sign off on any documents that need to be signed off on to carry forth the settlement on behalf of the county. So we get our, hopefully more than
$4.70.
yeah, a little more than what they're probably anticipating. You know, whether they're going to do it on population base, whatever, you know, I mean, there's still some things up in the air about how that money's going to be split that the state gets, that they receive, how much is going to actually get out to the counties.
Did you say Industry Center was 80-20 split?
Wisconsin. State of Wisconsin did an 80-20 split. Some other states have done 80-20s, 60-40s, with the larger portion going to the local governments.
And
But
ours
that's,
wants the large portion.
well, they want it, well, the last thing I'd heard it was 50-50 is what they'd said.
There have been a lot of, there have been several video interactions with the AG's office, and it's still a bit of a mess.
Don't say it.
We just need the local governments, because they can use the money more effectively than the state government.
Agreed.
Yeah, the state's going to say they're going to put on these programs, going to develop these programs and all that.
I mean,
It'll never trickle down.
No.
It won't end up out here. And they had some graphs that showed how percentage of population affected, you know, and Eddy County's pretty high up there.
All right, so we need to make a motion.
To approve that resolution, which in it authorizes
Just
Commit-
to approve R 21-119.
yes,
As written.
as written.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to second, please call for the vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Hudson?
Yes.
Beard?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate the discussion. Next item is Resolution 21-120, and this is the inducement resolution for the solar project with Chevron Algonquin and council for the inducement resolution and the IRB eventual agreement, so.
Thank you, Mr. Al, and Mr. Davis. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Perry Bendixson with the Rhodey Law Firm in Albuquerque, representing Hayhurst, New Mexico Solar LLC, which, as you heard at your last meeting, is a joint venture between Chevron and Algonquin Power. What you have before you is a resolution that in bond biz we call an inducement resolution. It states the county's good faith but non-binding intention to issue up to $40 million of industrial revenue bonds for the benefit of this solar voltaic project in the Hayhurst area. This resolution has been reviewed and revised by your outside counsel, Jill Sweeney at Sherman and Howard, and we would ask your consideration of this. Fred will be able to answer questions about the project, and if you have any really serious questions, we have Beverly Allen from Chevron here to answer those.
Gee, Fred, I don't know.
Any discussions, questions on this? I think we got most of our questions answered last time. Fred was here. We appreciate you guys bringing it back, but if we have no...
And they've, Beverly and Fred have presented a timeline of next steps after this inducement resolution, and the two councils will work together on the final agreement, which will come next, maybe the end of the first quarter.
Towards the end of the first quarter, probably.
Yeah, next year, so.
Okay. Cassidy?
No, good to go.
Things are going good, yeah.
Barry's been here 2 or 3 times on these.
Glad to be here.
And so, yeah, we appreciate it. I did also reach out to the ranchers out there, and they said doing business with you guys was really good. So we appreciate treating all the citizens fairly and good. So we do appreciate that. Thank you. I guess we'll entertain a motion that we approve R21-120.
So moved.
Say it's in your district, so I'll second that.
Okay. Motion and second. Please call for the vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Hutchin?
Yes.
Beard?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Travel safe. Hope you don't get stuck out again. Thanks for coming, though. We do appreciate it very much.
But at least they were here to hear.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Commissioners. A lot of significant items there on that portion of the agenda. The next item is the resolution and agreement consent portion of our agenda.
Any questions, comments, items to discuss, pull?
I have none. I make a motion to pass resolution agreement consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Please call for the vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Hutchin?
Yes.
Beard?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next item is elected official and department updates.
Good morning. I'll put on my board of trustees hat for this report. Come the 1st of January, we are officially a board at the Southeast New Mexico College. We have had a lot of meetings. Like I'm starting to wonder if I really needed something else to do, but it's important enough, and I think you're going to be really happy with the results that we are anticipating with our new college. There's a lot of heavy lifting that's going on, and it's not the board doing all of it. Believe me, there's a lot of people working very hard on all this. John Heaton and Craig Stevens are two main people that are following through on a lot of this. So I just wanted to give you an update. We have been through a big hurdle of it's the transfer of something. I can't remember all the terms, but it basically means that the Higher Education Commission that oversees accreditation has said, yes, we're okay with that. And the Secretary of Education came down with her staff and met with us as a board. So the accreditation, which is crucial for a college, is to really succeed, because who wants to go to a college that's not accredited? I mean, that just makes no sense. So we've made it through that first hurdle. And then, of course, there's a few more that follow, as like with the nursing program, but that's not going to be a problem. So just to let you know, things are going very well. I think everybody's going to be very happy with how it comes out. We're pushing forward really hard. That April 10th date is fast approaching, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to actually make that happen, because that's when the transfer actually is supposed to occur by statute. So there's going to have to be some provisions made. But this is going to be a big deal for the whole county. It really is. Artesia, Carlsbad, Loving, everybody's going to benefit from it. So my big one of my big pushes, the dormitories. That's unfortunately, once I've realized what all is involved here, that's going to have to be a priority for a little bit later. We have so much to do right now that a dormitory's like, okay, that's going to be wonderful, we've got to do that, but there's just so much to do. So we're getting there. Hopefully everybody will be happy with the end result. I think I'm very excited about it. So, and we've got a lot of good expertise on the board and a lot of support. A lot of folks who are NMSU employees right now that are very excited about the change that is coming, because maybe some people actually paid what it costs to live here in Carlsbad and what they're worth, so which hasn't been in the past. So that's a good deal. Things are going well at the sheriff's office. We've had another retirement, but we're also getting applicants still, so I'm very excited about that. We're going to move into the new year, and I'm going to bring a proposal before the board with Al Davis's assistance. We're going to bring this before you, something that I alluded to before about maybe making some personnel changes, additions that we're going to need for the future, and kind of an outlook for moving forward as to what we're going to need to do to keep up with what we see coming. I'm still waiting. It's kind of like, what is it? The Game of Thrones winter is coming. It's I guess it's going to get here at some point. It's kind of scary as to what we're going to get out of it. So I would just encourage everyone listening, everyone here, be responsible in driving, keep an eye on the weather. Everybody's going to be enjoying the holidays, so I'll speak for Cindy Sharif and say don't drink and drive, and if you're going to drink, don't drive. Have someone give you a ride. But I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we'll be out there doing our thing, hopefully making sure folks are safe. We did support Roosevelt County here yesterday. They had an operation where they needed to round up some pretty bad people, and they don't quite have the resources that we do with tactical teams and stuff like that. So we assisted them, and I think it was a big success. Everybody came back home safe and sound. Bad guys and gals went to jail. So have a great holiday season.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Hooper.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I thought I'd just kind of give an update on some of our projects and also some of the state's projects. I had a meeting with WPX, which is the engineer for the MDOT, on the 31 and 128 project, and they're trying to finalize everything and bundle everything up to make their recommendation for the design build project on New Mexico 31, which will be 4-laned from the new intersection at 285 and 31 all the way to the intersection at 128. And then 128, the recommendation is going to be to 4-lane from 31 to Jowl.
Let me ask a question. Are they going to redo the bridge?
Yes. So that the recommendation right now, actually, they're going to split it. So the bridge that's in place right now, the recommendation is to split it anyways. So you'll have the 4-lane, and then the 4-lane's going to come out so that they'll only have to build one 2-lane bridge, and then they'll keep the other bridge in place, upgrade it. So that's what.
So they'll build another bridge.
Yes, sir. After the intersection at New Mexico 31 and 128, New Mexico 31 continues on northeast, and that will not be 4-lane, but it will be an upgraded road. And then they went over the recommendations at major intersections such as Buck Jackson, 128 and 31, and also Refinery Road. And they're making recommendations on what type of intersections they're looking at putting. Yes. So most of the recommendations after they've been through a ton of meetings are going to be roundabouts at most of those intersections there. 128, they really haven't drilled down on it yet far enough to see what they're going to do, because oil and gas is really pushing to have an overpass there over the railroad tracks. I don't know if they'll be able to do that just because of the amount of rail that's using that track right now isn't very heavy. But we were really happy to see that the Southeast Loop, which is Refinery, they're looking at putting in a roundabout there, and then trailers that are like 200 plus foot long for like wings of windmills and that kind of thing, building something that they can just bypass the roundabout, and it would just be something that they move a couple of signs, they're able to go around it and go on like they should. So it looks really good. We're really happy with it. WPX has been very forthcoming and communicated well with the counties and oil and gas, and I think it's going to be a great project. 31 will be first. They'll break ground on it. Then also, the county has been in partnership with NMDOT on the 285-31 intersection. We're about 90% plan completed there. That intersection is going to be moved south about, approximately 1,000 foot and realign with 285 at a better angle, and then it'll be traffic signals put in there. And the money that was used to design that was donations through oil and industry, and also small businesses that was donated to the county in order to make that intersection better. And then the county is also at about 90% planned on the Carrasco 285 intersection. We're planning on moving Carrasco Road down to the new intersection at 31 and 285, so they're right across from each other. We've got 2 new projects that we're working on, and we're preparing those in a way, or planning in case that there is federal funds available. Number 1 is the river crossing at Forney. We just had a meeting on it, and the environmentals and biologicals, and cultural studies, and that was the big one on the east side of the river there, where we're looking at crossing. There's a lot of cultural issues. We think we found a place to cross there in between 2 heavily cultural areas, but I think it's going to take quite a bit more in planning and design on that, just because we feel like there's going to be quite a bit of federal money available for projects like that, so we want to make sure that we're covering those in order to apply for federal grants. That project, and then also Carrasco Road, tying it in as part of the loop and taking it right now at dead ends, about halfway in between 285 and 62-180, and we're looking at a route to try to take that on to 285. So that's all I got. Any questions?
I hear federal money, I just see my project slipping away.
Well,
Well,
we just want to make sure that,
There's a lot of federal, there's
Yeah.
BLM ground and Army Corps when you cross the river, so that we don't get hung up, this pre-planning is important to make sure that when you're ready to move dirt, you can move dirt and keep moving. So, it'll be a reality.
Doesn't the, I mean, but the BLM, you're talking cultural sites, arc sites, things like that, so, and the BLM has to just come in and they sign off on those, right? We're working with our local BLM office, is that correct, or did I misunderstand?
right, so right now we're using a consultant, local consultant, Kim, that's looking at those and identifying them. And then the two that we're gonna go in between, they say that you've gotta have about 100 foot from your right of way.
Okay.
And so those two, there's a way around it. We just have to mitigate it and understand what BLM wants us to do in order to make that distance closer that we can enter into.
So, when you said that you was gonna take Carrasco across the 285, you meant to take Carrasco across the 62-180, El Paso Highway?
Yes, sir, from,
Yeah.
So you'd be connected 31, 285, Carrasco, 62, 180.
Yeah.
So you'd have the full
Right.
deal then.
Exactly, and then hopefully we would move that, bypass on the west side down, so it would tie in
So that would be
right
phase,
across from that at some
that would be
point
phase
south of
2.
the
If we
airport.
were gonna improve Hidalgo and then find where the best place, the easiest place would be to improve the intersection at Dark Canyon and take Dark Canyon, improve Dark Canyon all the way up 62, 180.
Yeah,
But ideally, if you could align Carrasco and the southwest intersection, but that would, you'd have to have another route and another crossing across Dark Canyon, so.
yeah,
But that's the ideal case,
yeah.
And
But Dark Canyon kind of flattens out as you go that way, too.
so.
that's part of the plan of where we're gonna intersect into 62-180 is where it's gonna be easiest to bring the southwest loop and intersect it.
Yeah.
And then maybe the sheriff won't have to run traffic on, wind turbines that come through the middle of town and jam up traffic for a couple hours. So, you know, this is something that's so needed, and I appreciate all the planning that's going in there. I always want things faster, I was just super impatient, so I'd like to
River
get it done.
Crossing Hospital, what was
Yeah.
the other one?
New gavel.
Bigger gavel, stronger neck.
All right, you guys are so.
Speaking of patience, we're what, 17 years into this deal, and they've broken ground, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that have been very patient. And I'd like to commend everybody as well that's got us to this point, so.
Anything we can do to cut red tape, Wes, you know I'm for that. Like I just hear federal money and I go, this is gonna be a 10-year project for the darn thing's done. So I just wanna move things as quickly as possible, even if it's not, even if we invoke the 80-20 rule, we can get 80%, pretty good use for 20% of the planning instead of going that other 20% costs us 80% to get her done. So.
And I totally agree, it takes a lot more on federal money, but I think with the infrastructure package that may be coming out, and then the COVID money that the feds gave to the state, there's a lot of money there, and I think we might be able to get it a lot quicker because they want that money spent. We just need to make sure that we follow, in our plan and design, we just want to make sure that we followed their process so that we don't lose out on that money.
So that our projects qualify for those.
Qualifies, exactly. And I think by doing that, that's the longest part, and with our consultants that are working on it right now, they're very familiar with it, and it's been very, it's going good right now.
Once you get them shovel ready, the funds come and off you go, so we're trying to get prepared to be shovel ready.
I wanted 2022 to be the year I could cross the river down over there. I'm not real sure we're gonna meet that deadline, but I would love that.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. We'll see how quick we can get
other department, Ms. Gemma.
Commissioners again. I just wanted to remind everybody that the assessor's office will be mailing out rendering notices. They all have to be mailed out a month. Spending a lot of time downstairs. It's all ready to be mailed. You will need to be rendering mobile homes, cattle, and business personal property. And then also, if you're a big enough business, the state, you have to render to the state. But anyway, that's all those notices are coming out, and just wanted to warn.
Jim, I heard on the radio that Chaves County their notices are all behind. Are we on point?
Travis County has some weird things because they've got a different tax districts that had a special election that put everything behind. No, we're still right on state statute.
Great.
We'll be going out right, just on time.
Great.
So we had surge at the treasurer's office in mid-December. We'll now have the surge at the assessor's office mid-January.
And it goes until the end of February. We have 60 days. Yeah. So we think too. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you and your staff.
Thank you. Yeah, they do well.
Other, Mr. Stevens.
Just a brief update concerning the courthouse. Consent agenda approved the master plan. Courthouse is going to be trip 4 or 5 in that whole schedule. I moved it up to number 1. So you'll have your mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, structural engineers looking at that whole building, getting all that information ready. It won't be quick, but it'll be a lot quicker had I followed that original schedule on that. I just want to let y'all know.
Okay.
So we're following the recommendations and directions from the commission on understanding what's involved in the bones of that. So.
Okay.
Other updates?
When will we have a report on what they say, Brian?
I can't speculate on that. They know it's a priority for us, and so we'll be pushing on getting at least an initial summary put together, something to help us make some good decisions.
Okay.
Sit in this chair because I'm used to sitting that much, but just a quick update. We went to the Loving Council last week. They were down to strictly a tanker. We pretty much moved everything else to the auction block for them. They did agree to purchase a rescue pumper. It'll be a 1,000-gallon tank, 1,500 GPM pump. It's got a 6-man cab, and so basically this is an all-in-one truck. It'll run EMS, it'll do extrication, it'll be structural firefighting, it can do wildland firefighting if needed. 787,000, I believe, or 710,000 is what the final price tag was. They went ahead and bought it with their general fund, so now they'll have a tanker and an engine, and then we're going to start putting together a plan to get them a brush truck, so that way if they ever decide not to contract with the county anymore, they will be in a good place to have enough trucks to maintain their status of their main station with the State Fire Marshal's office. So the other thing is on the fire code, they went ahead and approved that. So Jared will oversee the fire code for that area. That was the one thing that we put in there, is that Eddy County will provide that piece. So that'll help us get everything in line with what the county is. It's the exact same ordinance that we passed as what they passed. So beyond that, the firefighter down there is doing a great job. We had a CPR call yesterday morning, and he was on scene within a few minutes. I haven't got to pull the exact report yet, but he definitely made a difference. So we are seeing positive things out of him being down there. So we're trying to pull all that data to get to Al so that we can bring something to y'all with some options and recommendations on what we see and what we think would best serve the community and the citizens of the county. So that's all I've got. Any other questions? Everything else is pretty smooth. The funeral for Galen will be Thursday at 11 o'clock at the First Assembly right there off of Mermod. I'm trying to think of what the cross street is right there, but we'll be there. Chaves County is going to send down some people to cover the northern part of the county. I'm going to be reaching out to Lee County today, and then usually Carlsbad's really good about it, and we do have one staffed truck with probably 2 to 4 people that's going to be available centrally down south. So and then once we're done with that, we will get back in service and continue on. So anything else?
Did y'all do the burn in Artesia? Y'all, that was y'all, right? You and Burns and everyone else?
Yeah.
How'd that go? Everything go good?
It burned, not as much as we'd hoped, but it did hopefully do some of what they needed to have covered to keep that neighborhood safe. So we did conduct it, just didn't burn as well as we hoped it would.
Okay. Well, thank y'all for, I want to say thanks for those that don't know. We had massive issues in Artesia with one particular field. And every time it blows, it just fills these poor folks' houses up with weeds, their carports, the pictures we sent. I mean, you can't even get across the road. So thank you all. Thanks Burns as well. Your department was out there a bunch clearing the road. You got this help thanks to Cass. I mean, it was a huge group effort from the county to help those folks, and they sure appreciate it, because it's been a nightmare every single year, and hopefully this will help substantially. So
Yes, sir.
thanks for doing that. I appreciate y'all.
Y'all have a good Christmas and a good New Year.
Merry Christmas. Other departments? Seeing none, legislative update. Mr. Fanning's on vacation this week, and he's basically a vacation out at the end of his contract here, or his notice. But the special session, legislative session ended. The districting bills that were passed, you may have seen those. The congressional district, 3 districts, the District 3 that is where part of Eddy County lies, splits Eddy County, splits Lee County, splits Chavez County. But that was Speaker Egoff, after the election, made a statement, and he carried it out in the past 2 weeks. The House of Representatives bill, House Bill 8, passed, and the House of Representatives for Eddy County will continue to include Representative Catherine Brown on the west and south portion, or the east and south portion of Eddy County. She'll have part of Lee County. Representative Townsend will continue to have parts of west central, and some of the northern Eddy County, and will extend it into Otero County. And then District 61, which is currently Representative Anderson Phelps. Part of that district will now come down through northeastern Eddy County, and there's a tongue that kind of moves through Atoka and out into part of Commissioner Beard's District 3. So we'll have 3 House of Representatives members in representing Eddy County. The Senate map, Senate Bill 2 passed, and there are 4 state senators representing Eddy County. Senator Gallegos has basically the southeast portion of Eddy County. Senator Gay Kernan has most of northeast Eddy County. Hers extends down to about Orchard Drive in the city of Carlsbad and north, and some portion up into Artesia, a couple of precincts in Artesia. Senator Cliff Pearl has the northwest. He has some of the agriculture, the cottonwood, and a little bit of northeast or northwest Eddy County. And then Senator Ron Griggs has the majority of the west and southwest portions of Eddy County. So we'll have 4 state senators to draw upon in support of efforts and activities in Eddy County. The legislators passed, I think it was House Bill 11, which made some adjustments to the medical bill that for private practice that was a problem. They passed the House Bill 2, which was the funding, which basically took a lot of the rescue plan monies and pulled them back so that the legislators could administrate them, as opposed to the governor doing that. So that was passed in House Bill 2. A few other minor things that went on, but it was fairly contentious couple of weeks in the special session. We'll see what that portends for the 30-day session, which begins January 18 at noon. So we'll watch what goes on there. Not certain what's on the call, but there's a whole bunch of stuff flurrying around right now. So that's what I know from what I've watched, the feedback that I've gotten and received. So if you want any of that other information, I'm working on compiling what precincts are in Eddy County with those state legislators for reference. So if there are no questions, there's no travel request consent agenda today. We have no emergency business, and I don't know that there are any legislators or any other elected officials that wish to speak. County manager's comments. I shared a little bit about the legislative special session and what we tried to do, working back and forth with contacts that we had. Preparation for the special session, I'd like to recognize Wes and Jason and some others who have worked, along with Jerry, worked diligently with the interim committees since the last session and through the summer and the fall, who've worked diligently with our current legislators to try and make sure that we have our capital outlay organized, that we've got as many shovel-ready projects as they've got money for. There's been a lot of discussion, interaction with NMDOT, the Secretary there of Transportation and the Undersecretary, as well as the District Engineer. So a lot of good efforts in that regard. The Commission has talked about a desire to go up to Santa Fe for the second week of the 30-day session. I'm working on an outline of how we might be as effective as we can up there in getting groups of legislators together to hear what you have to say, as opposed to maybe trying to chase them down in the roundhouse, just run around where we have some more effective quality time with those groups of legislators. So we'll bring that information to you and see if that fits your desires and intentions. So, we've transitioned from Miss Gay, who has officially retired. Her last day was last Friday. I think she's vacationing out now. Miss Tara, I hate to even say this. This is her words, not mine. She's driving the bus. I will relay though, Miss Tara did, her son is enlisted in the Navy, and he graduated from the equivalency of their boot camp last week. But thought share about that. But to keep with the driving thing, when she parked for the ceremony, right? They had to be there early, and the Navy, precision oriented, must park. She got asked to repark. I'm saying, had a little car, big lines, didn't make it. So I'm not sure about driving the bus. We may have some remedial driving involved there. No. Anyway, and then Marcella is down front desk, so that transition's going. We're trying to make sure we get all of the calendar year-end items addressed so that we start the next calendar year. And there'll be a few more on the January 3rd agenda, I believe it is. This is Thursday, Tuesday. Okay, we're good. All right. So, as Commissioner McCutcheon mentioned at the beginning, this time of year there's a lot of celebration, family, friends. A lot of people look to take time off want people to take their time and use it, get recharged, refreshed. Be careful and cautious. There's still a lot of illness out there. So just be conscientious about what you're doing, whether you're with family and friends celebrating or you're having to travel or wanting to travel during that time. Just be safe and conscientious. We want you back. We need you back at work the first of the year. We have a lot to do next calendar year. The second half of our fiscal year, we've got work to do, and we look forward to that. So I appreciate everyone and what they do. Without your efforts, the county is not successful. We need everybody that we have doing what they do and doing it well, day in and day out. County's a good place to work. There are lots of benefits, both in our workplace and with our county benefits and pay and whatnot. So we say thank you very much, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. The next item would be County Commissioner comments.
I'll make mine real brief. Again, thanks to all those for the burn. You know, it's just nice to work with the county, right? I mean, we're working on the subdivision right now. Wes and Steve are helping me with. It's in the county, but it kind of butts up against Artesia. So the county's doing everything we can to get it to move, to get things working. We have other people maybe not making it as smooth to make their transitions, but everybody that's dealing with anyone in the county lately have had nothing but incredibly positive things to say about y'all. Even Byrne, somebody said he did a good job. And I hate saying that, and that's why he doesn't come in anymore, because his head doesn't fit. But, you know, but it really is. I do appreciate y'all, everyone out there. I mean, nothing but compliments. No more are we getting those calls, and we never did a bunch, right? But we're not getting those calls where, well, this isn't working and this can't happen, and y'all are just figuring out ways to get things done and getting them done, and it sure makes makes our lives a lot easier. Hopefully we don't get the calls that at all, and the ones that we do, when we do get y'all, just like Johnson Road, I mean, my goodness, that was a massive team effort, and y'all tackled it quick, efficient, and now it's hopefully not going to be an issue anymore. So I just want to say thank y'all for an incredible year. I know it's coming up to that year-end thing, right? So, and as Al said, we've got a whole lot to do next year, but I don't think there's a better team to tackle some of the stuff coming up than what we've put together here. So y'all have a safe Merry Christmas and a happy holiday, New Year, whatever it is, and come back, let's get to work, and let's continue to make Eddy County great. Despite all the efforts from everywhere else trying to hold us down, I think we find ways to push through and persevere. So that's all I really have. So thank y'all very much. Have a Merry Christmas.
I don't have a lot to say, just kind of everything seems to be going good. Most of the comments that I get from people are saying they like what's happening at the county. So I agree. There's nobody griping at us right now, so that's always a good thing. And just appreciate all the effort you guys put forward to keep it that way. And I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and go forward.
I kind of concur with these commissioners. You know, it's been a good year for me. I've had very few angry calls, and they've been resolved thanks to the big head in the door over there. And yeah, the roads have always been the number one priority for this county, and now the county lost its way for a while and roads were not a priority, and we're back there. Things are working good. You know, it's been a pleasure to be here for a year. And with that, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Commissioner Beard, I really don't have anything else going along those same lines. Did see Colorado got rid of any mask mandates or any mandates in the pandemic is now fully over in Colorado. In case anybody was wondering, it's still on in New Mexico. So we're still the same there. But it has been a trying couple of years. I know personally for many of you and in the county, we appreciate your focus and dedication to Eddy County and serving the citizens, and we have not lost sight in who we serve, and that's the citizens of Eddy County. I do appreciate that very much. When we get down and everything we do, when we boil it right down, it's about the individual that has hired us to work for them, and those are the people that we serve. I'd like to send my condolences out to the Fuller family. Galen was a big asset, not just in a volunteer fire department setting, but I'm sure to his family and the community, and so that's a loss, and he will be missed. So we do appreciate the volunteer fire departments, all emergency services, and pray for your safety over these next few weeks. So, and I think with that, we probably just have one more motion.
That's correct. We have no executive session today, so the last item on the agenda is adjourned.
Motion is second. Please call for the vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Petrus?
Yes.
Spears?
Yes. Thank you, commissioners, and